Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Psych. This isn't a no suit episode. Sorry, everyone. I just felt like doing a little video on a ship that I've been working on in the background here. So I haven't had actually any time to do a proper no suit survival recording, but I figured I'd do a few more videos of various shipbuilding ideas that I had in the works. So I've got a couple designs in mind that I want to work on. And then I'll do some showcase videos, upload them to the workshop. I've already uploaded this new ship to the workshop. I'll put a link in the description of the video to that if anyone wants to check that out. But I'm just going to give this ship here a tour, an explanation of why I did it and like the history of it. So basically, this ship design is based on a Tau. I think it's a Tiger Shark, I believe I based it on, except in the board game, in the tabletop game, should say more accurately, it's a lot smaller and it doesn't have all the like missile launchers and various things. It's all Space Engineers stuff added on it. So this is basically just an upscaled version of that design. The main idea I had with this was the prow railguns. Now, I initially built this very first design as my like first proper large grid ship that I ever built in a survival series. But back then we didn't have any of the rail guns or any of the new turrets or anything like that. No fancy warfare or sci-fi ion engines or anything like that. So what happened is, as I've like matured a bit in designing ships and Space Engineers, I've gone more along the line of making things as vanilla as possible. So this ship here is completely vanilla. It just needs a couple of the DLCs. I think actually it might only need the Warfare DLC. Oh, it's got sci-fi thrusters on there, so you'd need the Sparks of the Future, surely, I think. And a couple of skin paint jobs. Although I think all the paint jobs you don't have to pay for, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, what I ended up having is, if I went to my previous blueprint of the old Star Skimmer, which is now in here labeled the original, this one is full of a ton of mods. So like tiered thrusters, special gravity engines that make it go super fast. It had weapons from the Oki Grand Weapons bundle. It actually had the like original railgun mods on here. And conveniently, the railguns that were added by Keen actually fit in the same spot, so they're about the same size. So the shape of the ship isn't all janked up or anything like that. What I had under here is this is basically just some refineries with a whole bunch of modules, which is supposed to line up with the railgun, make it have like this, I don't know, coil or magnetic accelerator sort of lined up with the main body as the general design I went with from there. As you can see, it has got a fair bit of atmospheric thrust. What I did originally have was I had in this like 3x3 square here, I used to have some high tier atmospheric thrusters, which would, just basically cheat its way into any atmospheric situation very easily because they're extremely overpowered. However, the internals of the ship were filled with large reactors. I had like 8 large reactors in here, which, if anyone knows, is completely overkill. They're so heavy, and it just adds so much weight that I had this bit of like an issue where I was adding so much weight and I needed more thrust, and then for my more thrust I needed more power, and just it keeps spiraling and spiraling like that. So what I've done is I've replaced all those with 2 large warfare reactors, regular thrusters, so now it all has a nice bit of power. So just going around the exterior look here, this ship is optimized for space. It can fly in atmospheres, however it's not really going to be able to fly gracefully in an atmosphere on any planet. I have put parachutes on here just in case you fall into a gravity well and you can't escape, so you're landing on like Pertum or something. It can fly around quite happily on Earth, Triton. I think it should be it would be able to do Mars quite happily. I haven't tested on the Alien or Pertum. It's got a fair bit of cargo space. We've got a little hangar in here as well, which we'll get to in just a minute. I've put a bunch of magnetic plates on here. We used to have some ugly like landing gear things which sort of stick out, but now we've got these mag plates so we can have a nice sleek design on the bottom. It's got a fair bit of weaponry. These are all artillery cannons, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're all artillery turrets. We've got some regular Gatlings for just things that come nearby. That's an artillery and an assault. So yeah, it's fairly well heavily armed. For its size, it could do with a bit more. It's fully survival capable. It's got med bays, cryopods, beds, everything that you would need on an interior. So let's go in here. This is one of the ways that we can access the interior. We've got the bridge there. The other thing is up here we've got some airlocks that go into the front of the ship. I was thinking about replacing the batteries with warfare batteries because they look a bit cooler, but it's just part of the design. So what I've gone with here is, as you can see, there's a difference in the paint scheme here. The original design was with the clean skin. Basically everything in here was done with the clean skin. Let me just change it to nighttime so that we can get a good look at the internal lighting. So it's got a nice little warm internal soft yellow color scheme going on. We've got our console here. We've got some scripts on here. I've got the Izzy's inventory manager, the simple, which is the ship internal diagnostic, view planner. So like when this takes damage, you'll be able to see what stuff's busted on there. I think this is viewing it from, that looks like it's viewing it from above, it must be. Green for power. I think that is... Those are the reactors, I believe. Those must be the turrets. Well, they're actually quite large on the plan here. I have the gravity drive manager, as we'll get into that in a second, because the ship does feature a gravity drive to give it a nice bit of speed in space, so we'll go for a tour. So here is our main bridge. We've just got this one control seat. Everything around here is surrounded by heavy armor, so hopefully the bridge should stay relatively intact in a gunfight, although I don't have like a battle bridge or anything in here which you can run off to, which is a bit of a design oversight, but I just don't have any room for it. It's all perfectly symmetrical, so on either side here we have some little living quarters, so we've got enough space for 2 people. This is our gravity drive, which is turned off for the moment. We've got a little bathroom in here, and that's the same on the other side. So all of the doors on board are set up to a timer which triggers every 6 seconds and then just closes everything. I decided to go with a timer instead of a script, just to lighten the load on the PC just a little bit, make it a little bit more optimal. We've got 2 cryo beds, a med bay, a little medical station, so this is our little med bay. It was built with the is it the passageway interior mod, which has a whole bunch of different passageway options. So the internals of the ship are all a bit wonkily aligned and designed, as I had gyroscopes and whatnot floating everywhere. So I had to make a few adjustments here and there. So what we've got is either side here, this takes you down to engineering, which we'll get to in a little bit. These are the side airlocks, which I was talking about earlier. That leads to the top of the ship there. We've got a repair projector. None of these projectors and consoles have any blueprints on them. It's just to lighten the load, although that projector in there is designed to have the Star Skimmer's blueprint on it itself, so you can repair it. We've got a main cafeteria, kind of chill out viewing room on the front here. We've got a nice access view of the rail guns, which we should just be able to set off to fire just for fun. Let me see if we can remote access here. And we have our antenna online. We've got our antennas on board online. No. Okay, so we should be able to see that now. Go into the terminal, pop on these rail guns, give them a nice shoot. You can see that from here. Lovely. We've got more than enough power to charge that up. It's got full assembling and refinery capabilities, so you can reload and restock on the go. Again, It's empty right now. There's nothing in the cargo containers. It probably wouldn't be able to float in an atmosphere on much of a cargo container supply. I think the atmospheric thrusters right now are actually kind of close to being maxed out. I can't exactly tell. You can't tell how much they're currently using, I believe. Yeah. Even with the, what's that, build info mod, I think they added that in. So what we've got here is our little production. I used to have access to a little oxygen and hydrogen tank area in there. Is that just firing the railguns randomly? Did I leave that on accidentally firing? I think I did. Let me turn that off. Yes, I did. It's odd, it sounded like they fired at a different time. Like one after the other, so it's a bit odd. They should have fired at the same time. They were launched at the same time. We've got 4 jump drives on board, so it's got about a 1,000 kilometer jump range, because this is a relatively heavy ship. We've got our full banks of atmospherics. This has got windows over it to keep it pressurized. So in here we've got a reactor, and opening this will actually depressurize the interior here, because we've got access to our thrusters here, just a little bit around the backs of the reactors here. So you can see our little gravity drive is up here. We've got, I believe, 12 artificial masses on either side, which also have plenty of forwards and backwards. So we've got, let's see, there's 2 grav gens going forward, 2 going backwards. So the script is smart enough to like say these are going to be a positive gravitational integer, and the ones in the back would be negative when you're going forward. So they basically double up when you're going in one direction. So we've got 8 in total gravity generators that are applying on those, say, 12 artificial mass blocks. So it actually has quite a lot of propulsion in every single direction with the gravity drive. So it's very zippy in space, which I'll just teleport it up there in a second. We can give it a test flight. This is our main hangar area. We've got our little door opening buttons here. We've got 3 connectors in here for various ships. So you want your little mining ship. Oh, I've actually added the hangar doors onto our timer block, which we don't want. That's a slight oversight. It'd be a very irritating thing to deal with. Whatever. I can fix that at some other point, or just leave it in whatever. You can just turn off the timer block for opening the doors. I don't know. Whatever. Hasn't been super well thought out, but yeah, you get the idea. It's jury-rigged and based off of an old design, so it's not going to be perfectly optimal. It hasn't been built from the ground up or anything like that. And this room has very weird pressurization for some strange reason. It is completely sealed. And this one isn't actually set to depressurize, so I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it doesn't have proper pressure in here. Probably got something to do with the funky doors, I would imagine. Either way, that makes a nice little airlock. We've got an LCD on either side, which gives you access to the hangar there. And that's basically the entirety of the interior. More or less everything, I think. I could probably remove this door. It's kind of unnecessary to close that area off. I don't actually have any air vents in this back compartment, so everything is kind of fueled up with air from that very front area. I just don't have any room for an air vent somewhere around here. I could put one like really clunkily in, maybe in here. Could replace this with a air vent, but then you'd be kind of restricted and it would be a very tight fit walking through here. Either way, let's pop this ship up into space. So let's go up in here, teleport it up here. we in space? Yes, we are. Okay, so we're in space now, far away from any gravity zones. So we've got some oxygen farms, we've got some solar panels. It's basically just there to keep it running without needing to like tax the reactors for just general sitting in space, idling. That's why I've got solar panels on there. They're not meant to like power it intentionally or anything like that. So what I'll do is we'll go through what we've got on our setups here. So on our first tab, we've got our weapons and main control systems. We've got our turrets, the underside connector, our antennas. We've got an ore detector, everything like that. On 2, we've got propulsion systems, so you can access our parachutes, our various gravity drive subsystems. So I've got a gyroscope that deals with the there's a little bit of a skew when you fly around with gravity drives unless you perfectly balance them based on the center of mass. So if I actually go in and show that, go in the info, show center of mass, and then we'll grab our spectator, slow it down a bit, and we'll teleport it to our skimmer. Oops. Yep. Slow it down even more. Don't want to go teleporting past it. There we go. So can we see our center of mass? There it is. Here's the center of mass right now. There's nothing in the cargo containers at the moment, but the cargo containers are all aligned on the bottom here. So when they fill up, the center of mass will actually be lowered a little bit. And as you can see, if I go out to the side here, we will have our gravity drive somewhere. There it is. So the gravity drive's actually slightly off-center from the center of mass. And when loaded up, that will be a little bit more noticeable. So I've added in a gyroscope with a 0 override just to make it so that the slight bit of skewing you get from using the gravity drive is a lot less. So what I can do is, if we have a look at our movement, so just going forwards, you can see there's that like slight drift. It's like tilting down a little bit. If I go on a camera, you'll be able to see it more. So that's just with no gyroscope override, but if we turn the gyroscope on, yeah, see that drift goes away almost completely, and we can still move around perfectly fine. However, if you're feeling a little bit sluggish, you can turn that override gyroscope off and then fly it around as normal. However, I like to fly with it on. So as you might have been able to see by our speed meter, we're able to hit the top speed of 100 very, very easily. This map I've got it on has a top speed of 500 meters a second, but as you can see, we're going to hit 100 meters a second with grav drive, no problem. That's going forwards. Going backwards is similar, although there's not as much deceleration, but the majority of the deceleration and acceleration comes from the gravity drive. So if we go left and right, you can see that it's fast even going in those directions, and especially up and down, because we've got a lot of ions in the up direction, and then there's a crap ton of grav gens on the artificial masses in those directions. So it's actually very maneuverable in space, and in a combat situation you want to be nice and maneuverable. It could probably do with a couple more gyroscopes, just as a note, but yeah, like I said, you can just turn off the override one and it still pilots perfectly fine. Be nice and maneuverable in a situation where you need to avoid turret fire or anything like that. What I can do is, if I turn off the ions, which is on 5, you'll be able to see this is just the gravity drive right now. There's no ions affecting it right now at all, so that's forwards and backwards. It's still perfectly fine for moving around like that. And actually, its left and right is faster than its forwards and backwards, I think. And the up and down is definitely faster. We like having those ions on just for the nice aesthetic of it. So if you want to fly around with basically using very little power, I mean, look at my power output, 2% right now, and it's just flying around perfectly fine. So you can fly very efficiently on just the grav drive alone. So let us come to a stop here. What else do I want to discuss? It's mostly lightly armored, except for the cockpit, so it's not optimized for combat, but it has got a fair decent amount of weaponry. What I can do is, if I go outside, I can just spawn in like a little test ship, and we'll see. Well, it's actually, I don't have any like combat AI. I don't have any, combat encounter mods on this creative test system, so it would be a little bit hard to set up right now. I don't have any like enemy AIs that I can just pop in, unless anything of the vanilla sort just appears magically around me right now, which would be very convenient, but I don't think it will. One thing to note before I close out the showcase is on the moon, this thing is actually able to fly quite happily. So if I turn my signals back on, I'm going to go over to the moon. Oh, actually, what's that? Oh look, there's a Rust Rider right next to me. Isn't that convenient? It's perfect. So we can give this a test combat situation. So let's go and encounter this Rust Raider. That is very, very convenient timing. But what I was going to do is the gravity drive works perfectly fine on the moon. It's able to hold itself up very, very easily. So yeah, the main areas you want to be using this ship is in space or on moons with no atmospheres and low gravities. But other than that, yeah, it's able to fly around perfectly fine. So we'll just lock on right now. Set our turrets to focus target. They're all firing on it now. They'll be at their maximum ranges. We can switch to our railgun, which we've unlocked for some reason. We want to get our nice target lead. There we go. So if we zoom in here, line that up with the camera, fire that, we should be able to get a nice shot in there. Boom. Yeah. So it's got some heavy hitting artillery weapons on there, which I believe are reloading right now. Oh, their range is 1.4. It must be reloading. It's on a creative one, so they're not like limited by ammo that they should have in there. Here we go, yeah, just not set up to fire at it. So it has a huge amount of damage that comes from the artillery turrets, are the main like anti-ship weapon. We can run this guy down. I think that thing doesn't have any turrets outside of Gatlings or missiles, so it's an old school design. We're still waiting for a railgun to recharge, but we can still pepper things from outside of their range because the artillery shots are actually quite fast. And as you can see, I'm able to scoot around this with our gravity drive very zippily. It's almost like I've got fighter's mobility because of the gravity drive. Although, yeah, its rotational speed is very wonky sometimes. It's able to pitch and yaw, but its rolling is not very good. So it could do with a couple more gyroscopes just for that reason. But right now I'm like matching its speed, even going left and right, although I don't think most ships are based around moving this fast. It must be moving faster than 100 meters a second for it to keep up with me, because I'm going about 500 meters a second right now. Let's see if we can hit it with another shot. Yeah, another direct hit. That's the main railguns doing their job. Lovely. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave that space pirate ship alone. We've pestered it enough. It's not going to, rip apart any ships or anything like that, but it is able to do nice little strafing runs with its high speed and its railguns. It's got a very large range, so what we'll do is we will head over to the moon, and I'll show off its ability to fly in a moon atmosphere. So here we are, we're in the moon's gravity well, and we're able to move at full speed pretty much. The gravity drives will be reduced to about 50%, I believe, of their usual. They all cut out at 0.5 proper gravity. So yeah, when we're at 0.25, which is the moon's maximum gravity, our gravity drive will be at half effectiveness. But as you can see, we're still quite happily able to fly around, no problems. Even coming in at like high speed, yeah, we're able to arrest our downwards movement and then just keep zipping along. So if anything, this thing is like perfect for moon combat. Not a lot of ships have this much thrust capability in a lunar environment unless they're hydrogen based, so it has a real advantage in that sort of situation. So I will put a link to this ship in the description if you want to download it on the workshop and give it a go yourself. It's got quite a bit of PCU, so in the future I'm going to be focusing on making smaller, survivable, capable ships with a less intense PCU drainage. My next ship that I want to plan is also based on a Tau ship, the Warden class escort. For that I'm going to do a whole bunch of ball turret, basically railgun turret, so it's going to fire in a sequence of railgun shots, and it's going to have like 4 of them, like 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. You probably see when I make a video of it, but it's going to be a lot smaller than this, so it's going to be I'm probably also going to make it powered by a gravity drive, just because I like doing gravity drives. Makes spaceships feel very zippy and cool like that. I don't like spamming ships full of hydrogen engines. Why do that when I can have a nice funky gravgen ship? Although one thing I haven't tested is how well a ship like this flies after it's been banged around a bit. So what I might do is, if I copy it, I'm gonna go out and print another one out here and then just shoot one of them with some of the railguns and the turrets, and then see how well it flies. So if I zoom this out here, place that, give the other one a nice shot with the railgun, see how much damage we can do, and blast it with some of the turrets and see if it flies still properly. So let us go and find our other one. Go into our railgun, line it up, and then just shoot like down here. So we've done a whole bunch of internal damage, pierced through a bit. I hop into some of the artillery turrets. Actually, I need to hop out of the camera first. We've got this one. Let's see here. Where's this? Yeah, that'll do. I'll just fire a shot at the wings here, which looks like it's just pierced straight through. I think it's actually going down now. So that's a good sign that I've done some damage to the gravgens, or some of the thrusters. So let's see how well it flies now. If my chair is still intact. Yeah, we're still able to fly. Yeah, we're still able to fly. We've lost our compensation gyroscope. It looks like we've got some loose parts inside that are causing it some chaos, although it's not actually like... I thought it would be, clanging all over the place and getting kind of skewed up. So as you can see, we've still got a fair bit of control, even though I'm drifting downwards in certain areas and I've lost a lot of gyroscopic control. We're turning very slowly now, but we can still control it quite nicely. So you'd be able to escape various combat situations, even if you got shot a little bit. So yeah, I've taken out the large ion thrusters that I've got there. So that's why it's lost a bit of its ability. Oh, actually, there we go. Now it's tilting weirdly. Okay, so it's tilting weirdly when I'm going upwards and downwards, or left and right, I think. That's interesting. I was keen to see if it would have a problem like that. So that is the Star Skimmer, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to a little ship demonstration here, and we'll have more of those in the future. I will be intending to upload some of my other designs from the No Suits series onto the workshop, so the Ice Skate, my Hustle atmospheric constructor, little transport rocket that I built, I'll put that up as well if anyone wants to use those in their survival worlds. They're all designed for survival, obviously, because I built them in survival. The Nyx, the atmospheric fighter ship that I built, with its nice little internal thruster components and whatnot. So, yeah, there's all that to look forward to, and I will get back to you with the next. The next video will probably be another ship demonstration. I don't really have the drive to do a whole another survival series. I'm quite happy doing a whole bunch of building stuff in the meantime. It's just a bit of a change of pace for me. I'm feeling like being creative and building ships at the moment. So yeah, thanks for that, and I'll see you on the next one, everyone.